Hi everyone, and I'm still at SSL, as you can tell, Solid State Logic. I've been joined by the man, the legend, the sideburns, Jim Motley.
Hello.
And we are genuinely not at Butlins, hence the blue coats, but we're going to go on a little factory tour.
Yes, and we have to wear very clever portable Faraday cages so when we touch stuff we don't blow it up.
Because I don't want that sort of bill heading the Pro Tools Expert way, do I really?
There's a lot of free adverts.
Yeah, a lot of sparks as well.
We'll work it from there.
So Jim is going to lead on and show us around and give us the whole SSL Magic Tour thing.
Yes, we do have a Magic Tour. Weekdays on Wednesdays from 2 o'clock onwards. Please book to confirm RSVP to sue@solidstatelogic.com.
Let's go in the factory and see what's going on.
So, here we are at the front end of the factory. It's a Michael Hopkins design building, one of the new wave of British architects from the Norman Foster crew. And what we're going to do this afternoon is we're going to have a little wander around in some of the production cells. All of our consoles are manufactured here in the UK. And we're going to have a little look today at how Duality and AWS are put together, and hopefully find an Excel desk to time with what you've been looking at earlier on. So, let's have a wander through and go to the Duality cell. So, here we are in the Duality cell. Obviously, that's not named to the various criminal convictions of the people who work in it. It's more to do with the floor space around us. Now, firstly, you will notice that I'm wearing a very silly blue jacket. This is for electrostatic discharge, or it's a portable Faraday cage. And around the factory, you'll see bits of yellow lines, which means don't cross them unless you're wearing one of these. Consequently, unless I'm tethered to something for static, I can't touch anything, but I can point, which is what we're going to do here. You can see a Duality at the moment in final stages of test. And the way that we produce here is it'll come in as a naked metal chassis and a number of boxes. Because Duality is a fairly modular but standard product in 24, 48, 72 or 96 channels, we have one box for a centre section and one box for each bay of 24 with everything that it needs to go in it. What we'll then do is prep the bottom of the chassis with the fader cards and bus cards and put the power supplies and processors on the top ridge at the back of the console. Once it's been prepared, we will then fill it from one side to the other full of the channels and the faders. And for a 48-channel Duality, the actual load into the frame takes about a day and a half. Following that, it starts to be tested, and this is generally 4 to maybe 5 days, depending on what happens. And this one at the moment, you can see at the background, is connected to a very, very large audio precision rig, which is running a computer test, switching between every single possible signal path input and output of the console, and measuring each of them. However, that's kind of a static test. It doesn't switch things in and out. It doesn't move knobs. So following that, one of our engineers will sit in front of it for another 2 days, listening to signal going through every single path of the console. Once the computer test has been done and the human test has been done, we get one of our other assembly engineers over to do a spot check, and they will randomly pick things on the console surface and just check it's all as expected. So generally speaking, the process to build a Duality like this is going to be about 4.5 days. So inside this box we have all of the components that you need for a 24-channel Duality bay. In the top corner here we have the bus cards and the fader cards. The fader cards, obviously the faders are mounted in. The bus cards carry all the audio connections from the individual channels to the centre section. Over here we have the faders, and at the far corner at the back we have the LCD displays that go above the faders themselves. In the middle we have the channel strips for each channel of the console, and then depending on what size you want the desk, we will get 1, 2, 3 or 4 of these boxes together with the centre box. It all seems like a giant Lego kit, but all of it is manufactured in the UK and assembled by us here. So this is the AWS production area right next door to the Dualities, and the same thing applies. A console will come in as a naked metal frame, as we have here, and in the case of an AWS, one box, and each box will either contain the parts for an AWS 916, a 924 or a 948. From here, it comes to the initial assembly part, and this is one very near to completion before we wheel off to test. To load an AWS takes about a day, and to test one will take 3 or 4. So if we start building one on the Monday morning, it will be ready to ship by the Friday afternoon, if anyone has some money burning a hole in their pocket. Once it's been assembled here, it moves to the back of the cell, where again we have 2 audio precision test rigs, and the same procedure as Duality. It has a full machine test, where we computerized switch between all the inputs and outputs and switches, and then a human listening test, and then a final spot check again. Much like the Dualities, we generally have them around the factory without any trim on, and it's load and trim at the front of the factory is the last place that a console will be once it's been manufactured before it ships out by some kind of super duper air cushion freight to wherever you may be in the world. We're here in the small console cell, which is where we manufacture a Matrix, XL Desk, X-Desk and Nucleus, as well as the I/O stage boxes for our live consoles. On the bench today, we've just finished up a couple of Nucleuses, or should that be Nuclei, our hands-on controller for DAW workstations. And next to it, we have an X-Desk quietly getting dressed. We have these very nice, simple I know, but nice foam liners to hold things in the right place without static during the production process. And underneath us, we have anti-static flooring. But what's quite interesting is when you look at the main board of an X-Desk, you don't realise quite how busy it is. There are over 3,000 components on the main board and 300 components on the back panel just for cleaning the signal before it gets into your mixer. While it might be a compact thing, it's made in the UK here with us, and it's really, as you can see, quite a chocker PCB. So on the other side of the small console cell, this is where we build the Matrix and the XL desk. And at the moment, we have an XL desk in 3 different stages of the production process here. To start with, in these boxes here, we have some of the main boards that will be fitting in the next chassis that comes through the cell. And as you look at it inside here, you can see the 8 mic pre's at the top of one bank of 8 channels, and then the second bank of 8 channels next to them without them. These will be fitted quite close to the surface that you work on in the XL desk. It then moves across to the back of the room where it has all of the looming put in. And as we look at it now, you can see the connections between the main boards on the front of the console, underneath the 500 series chassis and onto the connector panel on the rear. On the left-hand side, as we look at it, you can see the FPGA, which handles all the soft switching inside the unit, and the 2 power distribution PCBs. These are some of the hotter bits that go inside the console, so we have the low-speed fan right behind them to pull the air through. Cool at the front, hot comes out straight at the back. Then over in the corner, we have one that's going on its test cycle connected to a Prism D-scope. And again, like the AWS and the Duality, these will have a computer test and a listening test of all signal paths. You may also notice the distinctly non-standard 500 series modules that we have across the top of it, which we designed to test all the connections inside the console, green light good, red light bad. That way we can be quick and efficient and repeatable when we build our smaller consoles in exactly the same way that we do when we build our bigger ones. So the last place a console comes to before it leaves us to go to a client is here. This is load and trim. This is the part of the factory where we notice any little smudges, blemishes, nicks, pops, broken bits, and even taking bits of dust out from behind screens so they don't annoy you when it arrives. We're in front of a very, very nice Duality Pro Station, freshly wrapped in cling film as if it were about to be plonked on the counter of a delicatessen, which is about to be picked up and sent out to someone. But this is the last 2 pairs of eyes in the factory that sees a console before it gets to you in your studio. So thankfully, we've got 2 very experienced chaps who know what they're looking for. So this is the last bit of building that happens on an XL desk. We put the end trims on, the front buffer on, and the lovely curved bit that goes over the top. We do this last just to make sure it stays pristine before it gets to you. And these are one-piece mouldings, mirror images of each other, one for each side of the console. There is an incredible story about the design and shape of this product, but that's probably more for a pint of beer in a pub than a video for Pro Tools Expert. This will then be flying its way out to some point in the world to make beautiful, beautiful music in someone's personal hybrid studio. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing the way that we build consoles here. We're very proud of what we do. We know we're small volumes. We know that we're a niche UK manufacturer. But the quality and passion that goes into building them here is probably the thing that keeps people here for 30 or 35 years and happy. Either that or boredom. Thank you, and we hope to see you again soon on ProToolsExpert.com.